Welcome to the dramatic readings of Tales of Eldelórne podcast. My name is Karleigh. I'm here to lead you down the path into this dark fantasy elfa novella. So hold on to your hats, boys and girls. Here we go. Thendiel shared with us her fears and anger in a tearful soliloquy. The garden was not well, and neither was she. As she struggles to survive this last day, to preserve her immortality, she remembers her life in this place. Chapter 1, Sacred Garden. The river delta is a warm, sultry land. Green moss hangs like carpets dotted with tiny blossoms of many-colored flowers. They shelter an abundance of birds and small animals that live among the branches. Trees along the river and under the bridge look like giant dancers dressed in green. Reaching out of the depths of the delta waters, they sway in the warm, wet breeze. Giant water bugs and flitting dragonflies buzz and skim over the tops of waves, their iridescent wings glinting in the sunlight. The village of Eldelórne is made up of giant sentient trees that weave their branches together, forming walkways and hanging gardens for their elves. Thendiel's home has been with her clan since the Second Age. The tree homes are made up of many levels of smooth-flowing chambers that magically open inside. The golden brown walls have a soft, glossy shine that radiates warmth and affection for its inhabitants. Young Thendiel knew the empathic way of nature. Her mother had the ability, as did her grandmother before her. The gift made their bloodline as healers well known among the Edhelyn. Her talent blossomed early. Thendiel quickly grasped the speech of trees and creatures that lived in their branches. She practiced her voice by telling them all her secrets, as true friends would. She found that each tree had its name in the song that flowed deep inside its life's blood. Ancient and all-knowing, they were a great, unmoving family with their roots deep in the land. From youth to young adulthood, Thendiel attended the many gatherings in the Ilian Gardens that lay on the other side of the great Vadla River. Elves from distant kingdoms often traveled to the sacred place to join in the festivities in honor of the seasons. Giant sentinel trees kept watch as young elves played their games of tag and hide in the garden's forest. At the gatherings, there was always music, good food, and plenty of dancing. Thendiel slipped away to her favorite reflection pool to be alone and away from the noise. Hidden away in a sleeve was her favorite leather-bound poetry book. She planned on curling up against a warm tree trunk while there was still enough daylight to read. Thendiel loved the sound of the ancient language. It reminded her of everything she held dear. Unknown to the elves of Eldelórne, the High King of Angeli commissioned the Dargilian to build a military outpost nearby. It was hidden in the eastern foothills on the other side of the garden. The soldiers kept watch over and protected the surrounding lands. The base was home to many families and the ranger elite forces that were stationed there. On this day, Thendiel happened upon a young ranger near the water's edge. He had dark hair and startled blue eyes. They shone like pale stars against the pool's reflection as he looked up at her. "Who are you?" he asked quietly in the common tongue. He dared not move, fearful she might run away. "What is your name?" he asked again. The beautiful red-haired girl turned to look for an escape. The young man saw the tip of her ear and knew she did not understand. "May the Övanen." He greeted her formally, her eyes riveted onto him curiously. "No Verithin, nice evening," he continued, and she seemed to relax until he stood up. His great height startled her into moving back a few steps. "Men uthalid, Uchenegir Edalin," she demanded to know how and why such a strangely large human spoke her tongue. He bowed, showing respect, as he introduced himself. "I am Marin." He spoke gently, continuing in Elvish. "I am sorry my height and my tongue disturbs you, but it is my birthright to be such as I am." He shrugged helplessly. "This is my place," she informed him with narrowing eyes. "I was not aware the Edalin owned such things," he replied, making her blush. "The belief is true," she admitted awkwardly. "I only meant to say this is a favored, quiet place I visit here alone to read." Marin looked down and noticed the tiny book she had been clutching to her bosom. "May I?" he asked, holding out a hand. In a gesture of trust, she carefully held the book out to him. "It is lovely." He admired the beautiful leather tooling along the edge of the cover. Thendiel stood curiously watching as he sat down again at the water's edge to read a passage to her. She had only to hear his low, rumbling voice speak it, and he stole away her heart. Fair gardens of light, place of the great falls, majestic Malorn stay. Birds sing high above in branches. Ever twining hand in hand, we walk in sacred places. My beloved sigh beckons me come play. This verse is about these gardens, he recognized, much to her delight. Thendiel found herself smiling. She dared pull herself closer. Soon she was draped over his broad shoulder, pointing out mistakes in his use of the archaic language. He delighted at her intensity as she spoke. An hour soon passed, and they found themselves unable to read in the dark. Marin leaned over and handed Thendiel the precious book. For a moment, their faces lingered, too close. "Can you return before the sun sets on the morrow?" Marin whispered. Her lips parted as his breath tickled her ear. Like a soft breeze, Thendiel kissed him on the cheek, welcoming his friendship as she quickly disappeared into the forest. Maren sat wondering if it was all just a dream. Thendiel stubbornly refused to stop seeing the mortal human against her parents' counsel. Her golden red hair flowed in great waves as she ran across the bridge to meet with Maren. The two walked hand in hand along the many stone paths among the pools and delicate spring flowers, reciting songs and poems to escape the problems of the day. They found an endearing friendship that never could be broken. She was his beloved, and so was he hers. Constant in their desire to stay together, they spoke their vows in front of witnesses. She made a home with him among his people. The rangers had their hands full most days with goblins and ogres in the mountains to the east. Swarms of the hideous creatures were reported attacking homesteads throughout the forested lands. There was plenty to do to keep busy in a military outpost. The Dargilian folk had a place of healing in their village, where Thendiel helped care for the sick and the wounded. She shared with them her elven practices and knowledge of the rare healing herbs. As Maren and Thendiel had feared, on the last day of the autumnal season he was called away to fight in a war far to the north for a king that she did not know. Filled with sorrow, they lay down in their most favored place in the garden among the flowers. It was above the highest falls. There they spent their final hours together. Her cries mingled with the sound of the rushing waters as he held her close to his heart. Sharing the tenderest of kisses, he never wanted to let her go. At the break of dawn, in their last moments together, Maren could only gaze solemnly down at her, for there were no more words to speak. He turned away with his duty and his regiment. She watched as they faded off into the distance. Thendiel lost all strength and fell down weeping. She had put on a brave face for him. The wives of the regiment picked Thendiel up off the ground and helped her to her home. "Oh, Chenia Tyr," she cried out as they set her gently on her bed. "Death will take me. This is too much." She is Edelin. She had an eternity to mourn. Thendiel fell into a death-like sleep. Elves call this healing slumber, but she slept alone, and when she woke, Thendiel found she could not be cured of a broken heart. There were so many more losses, many more sorrow-filled days as men filed away to war. Although it was not their fault, Thendiel found little comfort among her husband's people. When the gardens turned gray with the emptiness of the hibernal season, she decided to go back to her clan across the river. Thendiel's family home stood empty upon her return. She was shocked when she realized that without a word, the song of their lords had taken both her parents in her absence. Thendiel broke down and wept openly in this final assault to her heart. No, Marin tenuetran ablas, my Marin. I do not want this sorrow. Thendiel cried. Even her tree home could not comfort her this time. She collapsed to the floor, not ever wanting to wake again. Thendiel and Marin were so in love, and the tragic things of their world separated them. I went through a whole box of Kleenex on that one. I hope that things get better in the next episode. We'll just have to listen and find out. Elvish lesson of the day. The Elvish lesson for the day is a greeting that you've already heard me say once or twice. The word galu is a simple blessing. It can be used to say hello, and it can be used to say goodbye. So, blessings to you as you get on with your day in the Elven tongue. Galu.